Toto Wolff has questioned Guenther Steiner's management of Mick Schumacher and has opened the door for the driver to work for Mercedes. Nico Hulkenberg will replace Schumacher for next season after a year. Thus, Schumacher will not be on the grid next year. Will Schumacher be Mercedes' reserve driver? And does Hulkenberg regret Mick for taking his place on the team? Let's find out. Starting us off, Toto Wolff on Guenther Steiner's treatment of Mick Schumacher. He comes from the mountains. Mercedes chief Toto Wolff slammed Steiner's handling of the driver, saying that's his management style. He comes from the mountain where the air is thinner. You can't always think that clearly. It's genuine, and I've previously seen that this approach can work. Various routes lead to success. Mercedes is looking for a reserve driver, which Schumacher might fill. Michael Schumacher, his legendary father, retired from racing with the team. He deserves to be on the grid, not as a test driver, Wolff remarked. There may be an intermediate step in which we can play a part. Mercedes is intimately associated with the Schumacher family. David and Rolf both drive for Mercedes, as does Michael. Mick is also German. He's a good fit. He's deserving of a seat in Formula One. We need to see if we can accomplish anything. It's happened before with drivers who took a gap year. There are also prospects for testing, and you'll collaborate with engineers. It requires a whole different type of work than he's accustomed to. You then create a fresh perspective and get a lot of experience. Mick's uncle Ralf Schumacher stated that would be a fantastic solution for Mick. In a team like that, he could learn so much. Drivers like Alex Albon have demonstrated that after a year away, you can return to Formula One with a new perspective and a more fantastic experience. Next, Hulkenberg has little sympathy for Mick Schumacher. Nico Hulkenberg will replace his compatriot Mick Schumacher in Formula One next year. He was already allowed to complete the test for his future team in Abu Dhabi this week. He was asked if he feels sorry for Schumacher, who has to give up his seat to the 35-year-old German, among other things. The decision was finally made last week. After a lengthy absence, the German driver will return to complete racing duties at Haas next year. Hulkenberg is thus making an unexpected return to the grid. After all, his Renault contract expired in 2019, and he then appeared for Racing Point and Aston Martin in 2020 and 2022. Mick Schumacher's contract expired in 2023, and Haas considered several options. In the end, the US team did not keep Schumacher, so he's already out of the King class after only 2 years in Formula One. Moving on, pity. Hulkenberg made his first appearance in his Haas livery this week when he took part in the Abu Dhabi test for his new company. At the Yas Marina circuit, he was asked if he feels sad about Schumacher. No, that's part of Formula One. We're all fighting for our careers. Other drivers have replaced many drivers with higher experience. Whether that's 2 more years or 10 is irrelevant. That's how it goes in Formula One, remarked Autobild. Following that, improvement. The former Aston Martin test driver believes he can extract more performance from Haas than Michael Schumacher's son. It's a young team with a lot of potential, Hulkenberg said. They had a rough time in 2021. This year, they battled back to finish 9th, and I believe there's room for improvement. I believe there are some things we can improve as a team. I'm here because I'm curious. Also, for myself, in terms of my career, that's why we got together. The talks began in the summer when Hulkenberg contacted Steiner, and they reportedly examined his career, statistics, and substitutions. During the discussions, I was able to persuade them that I would be a good choice, he said. Next, Windsor is full of praise for Red Bull's chief. At the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Peter Windsor wowed Charles Leclerc. The Ferrari driver followed the same strategy as Max Verstappen, but the Italian racing team's car could have been better at tire management. Nonetheless, the Monegasque managed to keep the hard tires in good condition, eventually keeping Sergio Perez in second place in the championship. In his study, he also lauded Adrian Newey. Windsor analyzed the race on his YouTube channel and found nothing wrong with Verstappen throughout the race, calling it a great day for the 2-time world champion. For the most part, he appeared unconcerned. After the race, he spoke extensively about tire management and how focused he had been on tire management throughout the race. I started on medium and went one stop. As a result, the journalist thinks it's clever that Leclerc was able to use the same strategy and set good lap times. Verstappen started early in the race, and the tires lasted long. Windsor's not surprised that the Dutchman did not go through his tires so quickly. The Dutchman also encouraged his teammates to push hard because he knew the tires would hold up well throughout the race. Windsor notices a significant difference. That was with the RB18, which we know is a much more aerodynamically efficient and beautifully balanced car than the Ferrari. So it was a different race for Leclerc, driving to the absolute limit without hurting the tires any more than necessary. Moving on, Newey. The Ferrari was still the fastest car during the first races of the 2022 season, but Red Bull Racing eventually turned the tide. The Austrian racing stable's dominance this year can be attributed to one man. Adrian Newey in particular is the man behind that work of art. When the rules changed, everyone took a different approach. Nobody had heard of porpoising, but it was present for most teams. teams, Windsor comes to a close. Following that, Leclerc balks at driver mistakes in 2022, difficult to live with. Charles Leclerc challenged Sergio Perez for second place in the Drivers' Championship in the season's final stages. Still, before that, the Ferrari driver was preoccupied with his title duel with Max Verstappen. In an interview with L'Equipe, Leclerc discusses his mistakes in 2022. Ferrari's season was not always smooth sailing. The team threw away the championship due to multiple strategic errors and issues with the car's reliability. The drivers only sometimes provided their utmost effort. Leclerc, for example, committed numerous driver mistakes that lost him many points. The Monegasque flew off the circuit in Imola, eventually finishing next to the podium.
Gaps behind them, well, still half. And Charles Leclerc goes into the barrier at the Variante Alta. Now he's kept the car going.
Leclerc crashed into the wall while leading the French Grand Prix at the Paul Ricard track. The Monegasque is asked whether the race was tougher by the French medium. It's difficult to answer because both have been difficult to bear. On the one hand, I have perfect control over it. Mistakes on the track happen when you push to the limit. As a driver, you're aware of this, yet it does not make it any less frustrating. Mistakes are aggravating, particularly in Imola. The Ferrari driver takes the wheel. Next, that's not easy to live with. On several occasions, Leclerc has borne the brunt of Ferrari's strategic errors. For example, the Monegasque was not brought in for new tires under the safety car at Silverstone, allowing teammate Carlos Sainz to win. The other mistakes you can't always control are difficult to live with. Moving on, Alonso believes in Aston Martin's chances. Third title possible one day. Fernando Alonso bid farewell to Alpine at the season's final race on Sunday. The Spaniard will leave for Aston Martin next year, a squad that also had a poor season in 2022. Nonetheless, Alonso is confident in his third world title. Alonso will join the Aston Martin team in 2023, taking over for the retired Sebastian Vettel. The Spaniard stepped away from F1 in 2019 and 2020 before rejoining Alpine in 2021. He believes he left the French team in the finest career shape. I think I'm closer to the level of 2012 or 2010 or anything than last year when I wasn't in charge of everything, Alonso told the BBC. The Spaniard was not entirely sure of his automobile or his comeback. Finally, Alonso believes in a third world title with Aston Martin. On Tuesday, Alonso will take the wheel of the Aston Martin for the first time at the Yas Marina circuit. The Spaniard is optimistic about the prospects of his new squad, which placed 7th in the Constructors' Championship. I only keep going because I believe we have a shot. Closing the gap in a year is unrealistic, but we need to set the baseline for future cars and work better than the people around us. Alonso's last race victory came in 2013. With Aston Martin, the Spaniard feels he can reclaim his title. Ultimately, winning the championship inspires me every day, so I'm still hopeful for a third one day. Alonso is realistic and understands it's unlikely to happen next year, but Aston Martin's strategy gives the 41-year-old driver hope for the future. So what are your thoughts on the video? Do you believe Mercedes will be able to achieve much? Do you think Hulkenberg will alter his mind and feel sorry for Mick? Please share your thoughts below by leaving a comment in the section below. Well, that marks the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe to get an update on our latest videos. And thanks for tuning in.